After my interview, it was a pretty unique interview. Um, I realized that Hispanic families have many struggles, and that is something that I chose to look into further. And based on my interview, I realized there was a lot of struggles within the family, with addiction, with poverty. So I just wanted to take a further look at that. Some of the struggles that I realized that Hispanic families face are often legalization, getting your immigration status to be legal and have citizenship here in the US can often be risky, it can be stressful. It just puts a lot of pressure on families to get that done. There's a lot of racism, prejudice, and discrimination that happens in not just the community, in like friend group circles and family, but within the workplace. And it often leads to lower paying jobs, which cause poverty. Um, that also goes into economic hardship. They often have a hard time finding high paying jobs and getting the benefits like healthcare, insurance, and retirement to sustain a proper life here in the US. Um, and I saw this in my interview. He had a large family with illegal grandparents and parents who all struggled with problems with addiction and crime and finding paying jobs and just setting up life well for them here in the United States. I just wanted to take a brief minute to summarize my interview. So he was born in Alabama, specifically Birmingham. His family was from Guatemala. His parents were not legal at the time they moved, and they also moved with his grandparents, so they were all illegal and have had to get citizenship and stuff like that. So they moved here to the United States and they lived in Alabama, and that's where he was born. So he is a legal citizen. He was born here. His dad was arrested around the age of 8, and he is the second oldest of 10 siblings. So him and his siblings have struggled with having been raised by only their or his mother. And so, because of all the stuff he was surrounded with culturally, with addiction and crime and getting caught in some of that stuff himself, he decided to remove himself from his family, move to Ohio to finish school. He was then adopted by a white family. He graduated high school but did not go to college and currently is training to be a mechanic. Culturally, he is Guatemalan, so, and a lot of that stuff he mentioned was being family oriented and still caring for his family. Even though he removed himself from that, he is still very family oriented and the bond is very strong. And he often talks about cooking. He loves to cook and he loves to bring that part of his culture to his friends. In our textbook, it talks a lot about immigration, but I wanted to start with the stereotyping. One thing my interviewee mentioned was the ridicule that he received, mostly from high school kids, his peers, not understanding the humor, that he becomes the butt of the joke a lot of times, and he realizes that it's probably nothing, them not trying to be racist, but oftentimes that lack of awareness comes off and hurts him. So there's a lot of stereotyping among culture and in our communities that cause a lot of discrimination in the workplace and in our community. In the book, it also talks about push and pull factors that cause immigration, and we see a lot of these in my interview. They moved here for opportunities like jobs and just for a better life. And in the book, it also talks about jobs. And I think a misconception we have in our culture is that immigrants take away jobs and they lower the wages for American people. But actually, that is contradicted. And research shows that there are actually a lot of jobs created because of immigrants and that they help the economy in many ways. In one of the articles I found, it talked about high poverty rates, and there was a statistic that said that 40% of Hispanic children lived in poverty, and that is significantly higher than white children that live in poverty. And a lot of this has to do with the lack of resources they have that just perpetuate that cycle of poverty. And because of their language barriers and immigration status and cultural differences, a lot of those factors cause limited resources and a lack of support from the community. We see that there's also a lot of struggles with relationships, whether that be in the family and within the community. We see that migration and immigration can be a stressor based on the fact that it's a risky thing and it's hard to adapt and have to change in order to fit in with American culture, and that can cause a lot of stress. We also see that women have a different role here in the US, so there's a lot of changing of roles in that sense. And we also see that divorce rates have been higher, and it challenges the stereotype that Hispanics have strong family bonds. And a lot of that divorce rates cause for changes in the family, which can be stressful. This article took a look at jobs for immigrant or Hispanics and the poverty rates. So a lot of jobs that Hispanics will acquire here in the United States are low-paying jobs or service jobs. There's a lot of increased lawn care services, mechanic jobs, stuff like that. But these, unfortunately, lack benefits like health insurance and retirement coverage. And there's little ability to gain those just because of language barriers and citizenship status. So there's a lot of economic insecurity, which can cause a lot of stress on a family. This article focused on how the family structures are changing. There's a lot of rates in declining marriage, so there's a lot of cohabitation without marriage, a lot of single parenting, divorce, early marriage in the teen years. And these are just changing our view of the nuclear family. And a lot of this, the adaptation from that causes a lot of stress and oftentimes causes higher poverty rates. And those continue to remain high as immigrants come in and settle in certain areas that are underfunded. This article focused on some more of the struggles, especially emotional strain. We see that especially single parents feel alone and abandoned, and that they don't have community support, and with language barriers it's hard to gain that. There's a lot of strain and emotional hardship when it comes to cultural conflicts and what it looks like to keep your cultural values but also live in a different culture, along with the economic strain. In conclusion, we see that Hispanic families have a lot of issues, a lot of it stemming from changing family dynamics, economic strain, and adaptability here in the U.S. that cause a lot of high poverty rates and a lack of support and a lot of emotional strain.